Another name for categorical data is also called qualitative. And in categorical or qualitative data, there are only two graphs that we really look at. One is called the bar graph, and one is called the pie chart. The bar graph is the one that we use for AP, Advanced Placement. The pie chart, we do not. So we just use the bar graph. So bar graph is the only graph we really look at for categorical or qualitative data. Now, when you make a bar graph, you need to label both axes. You need to give it a title. Bars not touching. And your y-axis is either going to be frequency or relative frequency. Now, what is the difference? Frequency is how much. Relative frequency is percents. Okay, so you can use either one. A lot of times we like to use relative frequency when we're doing, especially if we're comparing two or more groups. Okay, so let's look at the regular old standard bar graph. Okay, we have some data. We have 250 shoppers. And those of you following along with my notes, this is Chapter 1 notes, Roman numeral number 3, A1. 3, A, and number 1. Okay? We have 75 Starbucks. $50 Dunkin' Donuts. We have 38 Mickey D's and 25 Own Coffee. Okay, if you were to add up all these, this plus this plus this, that's 150, plus this, we have a little bit left over. Okay, oh, I forgot Hess. So we have 75 Starbucks, 50 Dunkin' Donuts, 38 McDonald's, 50 Hess, okay, and 25 Own Coffee. So this plus this, 238. So that means we have 12 left over. So we have 12, that is other. Okay, what some kind of other means. Now there are two ways you can do this. You can use counts, and counts would be perfectly fine here because you're not comparing two different groups within these little categories here. Okay, you're not comparing like male versus female or something like that, and we call that frequency. Or you could use percents, which is relative frequency. And again, what they give you here is perfectly fine to use frequency. Okay, and I'm going to show you when it's good to use relative frequency. So, let's go ahead and make bar graph. Now, you want to look, and over here we're going to put frequency. And we're going to give it a title, coffee preference. Okay. And down here we're going to have all our categories. We have Starbucks. We have Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Hess, Own, and then we have that other to fill in. For the frequency, you need to look at what is your smallest number. Our smallest number is 12, and our largest number is 75. To help us determine if we're going to, first of all, make a break in the graph. 12 to 75, probably not. Okay, now if it was from like 400 to 627, I'm just making it up, then yeah, you want to make a break in the graph. But 12 to 75 looks pretty standard. And so what do you want to scale it by? Well, probably don't want to do it by ones. That'd be pretty tedious. Fives, possibly fives. 5 to 10, somewhere in there you may want to scale it by. So I want to scale it by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And down here is going to be coffee. And so we're going to look at Starbucks is 75. When you make this bar, first of all, we got to make sure we go to 75. You can color it in, you don't have to color it in, but if you do color it in, you have to color in all the bars. Your next bar has to be equal length apart from all the other bars and equal width. The bars need to be the same width. Okay? Now, just doing it by freehand is a little bit difficult, but we'll do as best we can. Dunkin' Donuts is 50. Mickey D's is 38. So same distance apart, same width for the bars. Okay. 38, almost 40. 50 Hess. $25 for Own. And 12 for Other. Ah, a little bit high. There we go. So we labeled our y-axis, we labeled our x-axis, we gave it a title, got all our bars equal length apart, equal width for the bars. And if we had to describe this, when you describe categorical or qualitative data, you use common sense. Just look at it and tell me what you see. The coffee preference seems to be a little bit more towards Starbucks, and very few are at home. Dunkin' Donuts and Hess are the same in preference with McDonald's not far behind. Okay, so, and obviously if somebody else were to look at this, it would put in a little bit different words, so it's not have to be exact this, but just what do you see going on here, okay? Just give a couple sentences of what you see going on. Now, that's just a standard old bar graph for categorical or qualitative data. Now let's look at a side-by-side bar graph. And if you're looking in your notes, it's Roman numeral number 3, A, 2, excuse me, 2. And this time we're going to do male versus female. And so we're going to have, for Starbucks, we're going to have 65 female, and 95 male. For Dunkin' Donuts, we're going to have 85 female. I'm just going to move this over just a little bit. 85 female and 15 male. For McD's, we have 90 female, 170 male. Oop. 25 female, excuse me. Read it wrong. 25 female and 145 male. For Hess, we have 90 female, 170 male, and Own Coffee, 160 female, and 100 male. So, now if you were to do a bar graph comparing these two, the problem is there are a different amount of males and females. Females have so many and males have so many. Now if they have the same amount, then we'd be okay, but that rarely happens. So when this happens, when you're comparing two or more groups, you definitely want to do something called relative frequency. In relative frequency, we're going to convert them all to percents. So I'm going to add up all the females. 65 plus 85 plus 25 plus 90 plus 160. Okay. And I get 425. I'm going to add up all the males. 95 plus 15 plus 145 plus 170 plus 100. And I get 525. So how do we make percents? I think most of us know how to do that. If not, well, just take your count and divide by how many there are total in that group. So 65 divide by how many females? 425. 95 divide by how many males? 525. And so we have about 0.15, and this is about 0.18. Divide by 425, divide by 525, and we get about 0.2 and 0.029 and 0.03. Same thing here. 25 divided by 425, you get 0.06, about, and about 0.28. When you take 145 divided by 525. 90 divided by 425, you get 0.21, and this is 0.32. 160 divided by 425 is 0.38, and this is 0.19. Now if you add up all the percents, now add up all the females, 0.15 plus 0.2 plus 0.06 plus 0.21 plus 0.38, you should get it about 100%. Might be a little bit under, a little bit over due to round off error. Okay, and same thing with the males. Now we're ready to make our side-by-side bar graph. And now we're going to call it relative frequency over here. Our lowest relative frequency is 3%. Our highest is 38%. So we're going from 3 to 38. So maybe scale by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And we have Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, McD's, Hess, and Home. Need to give it a title, male versus female. Doesn't matter which title, as long as it makes sense here. Down here, we're going to say coffee preference. And when you're comparing two or more things, you're going to have to make a key. So, maybe we make it solid, that'll be female. And maybe slashed is male. Okay, Starbucks. We have 15 versus 18. Here's 15. And here's 18. Dunkin' Donuts, we have 20 versus 0.03. Big difference there. Okay, so 20 versus 0.03. McD's, 0.06 and 28. So again, a pretty big difference. 0.06, oh, a little high, and 28. Hess, 21 and 32. And Own, 38 versus 19. And 19 right here. All right. It looks like my bars will keep on getting bigger. Okay, that shouldn't happen. Okay, they should be all the same width and distance apart. Now notice these bars are touching here. Okay, to compare, you could touch them where you're comparing, but within the other categories, they are separated. Okay, now describe or compare. Let's see. There is not much difference between females and males for Starbucks and Hess there is a big difference in Dunkin' Donuts preferred by females McDonald's preferred by males and home or own, right? I said own. Preferred by females. Now some of you may word this better than I do, okay? Not the greatest writer here, but you just got to get the basic idea out there. And don't forget your key, don't forget your title, don't forget to label your X and Y axis. When you're comparing two or more groups, make sure you go to relative frequency. You're going to percents. That's how you can relate to two or more groups. That's why we call it relative frequency. Okay, you can relate things when you change them to percents. Now we're just doing a standard old bar graph. You don't have to make it to a relative frequency. Now if they give you a relative frequency, you can keep it there, but you don't have to. So hopefully you now understand how to do quantitative data. I can say this. You can understand how to do categorical data or qualitative. Same thing, qualitative. Okay, good luck. Thank you guys for watching my video on bar graphs. Again, this is categorical data, qualitative data, and please remember that the bars do not touch, and to label your graph and to label your X and Y axis. Good luck on categorical data and bar graphs.